We're embarking on a mission to educate and elevate, which is our mantra, transforming the way we connect with our customers and propelling our businesses to new heights. To kick off things with a splash, and we're thrilled to offer a special treat first. Anybody, or actually the first 20 new members that join with us today for this Cat 4 Florida virtual group will receive a complimentary subscription to swimming pool service software through Buffer Zone. And we can talk to me more about that later. I get you more information on that if that's something that you're interested in, or if you want to check them out, it's at bufferzone.info. So www.bufferzone.info, and that's going to be exclusive for IPSA virtual chapter members, new members. So to claim your subscription, there's your bonus content. I've been working hard to try to get you guys some stuff. So now we don't have really any matters to discuss at this point in time. So we're going to dive into the highlight of our meeting. We are honored to welcome an extraordinary guest speaker, Miss Michelle Kavanaugh. With over 20 years of experience in the pool industry, Michelle has seen it all, the highs, the lows, everything in between. She knows firsthand the rewards and challenges of what it's like to run a business in this industry in a world where competition can be fierce and the digital landscape is ever changing. So Michelle's expertise in operations, marketing, and sales have helped countless others over time, including myself. Michelle and I have been friends now for about a decade, I think, maybe longer. And,
Yeah, I
you
think it's
know,
longer.
yeah, and I know that I have definitely benefited in the way I operate my consulting business, and then some of the other ventures I've gone on as well, from her partnership, friendship, tutelage, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully it works both ways. In either case, today's session is going to be titled Mid-Year Momentum, Strategic Planning and Goal Setting. Michelle's going to guide us through this webinar, specifically designed for pool service professionals and renovators. As we reach the midpoint of 2024, it's a perfect time to reassess our goals and strategies. So whether you're new to structured goal setting or looking to fine-tune your existing plans, Michelle's practical insights and proven techniques will empower you to achieve your business objectives. So with that said, I'm going to adjourn the meeting portion of this and hand it over to Michelle Kavanaugh. Michelle, take it away.
Perfect. And then if you could just give me sharing capability there, that would be
Working.
amazing. It's still showing you're doing that. So
I
thanks
am
everyone
right
for
now.
joining. I know that getting people on webinars these days is like pulling teeth. So I completely understand that it's probably going to be a low attendance. It is an evening and people are tired, and I completely get that. But I really appreciate those of you who chose to come tonight. And hopefully at the end of this, there'll be something you can take away that you can use in your business. My goal for this is definitely to be interactive. What I don't want to do is, let me go back to the beginning here. What I don't want to do is just talk theory with you guys and then not actually have, takeaways that you can use in your business. So that's the key for me here, is to be interactive. So we're actually going to go over examples. We're going to go over examples of strategic and smart goals for pool service industry professionals. And then we can actually have some feedback and dialogue in regards to that. Because I have 4 examples, and there's another one I could share that we're going to go through how you set those goals, and then how you review those goals, and then the action plan associated with those goals when you are, pivoting. And like Rudy said, this is the perfect time to be reassessing your goals for the year, because you're mid-year. You've got another 6 months of this year, whatever your yearly goals are, that you can reassess and decide, you know what, I'm not going to meet my targets, whether it be monthly, quarterly, or yearly. And now I'm going to reassess and decide how I can and change this up. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Again, if you have questions, you feel free to raise your hand, or, stop me, talk. I would love to have some interaction with that. So please feel free to do that. And I'm going to be inviting people in letting people in when they come on as well. I'm using Canva here for my presentation. I don't know those of you who use Canva or don't use Canva. This is just a different way to do a presentation, and I like it because it's just easy to design. And so I do everything in Canva. So really what I'm going to talk about today is really who I am, and Rudy mentioned it, but I'll just briefly touch on some of my background, the importance of what, goal setting, and then setting goals and how you set goals, how you review those goals, and then the action items that go along with them, and how you can set an action plan. You'll notice that I'll talk a lot about kind of success in your business based on goal setting. What I want to make sure to reiterate in this particular webinar is the fact that you're not failing if you don't have business goals set. I don't want you to think that, those of us who set goals are up here and everybody else is down here that don't set goals. That is absolutely not what I want to portray to you today. What I'm trying to do is give you tools to help you, because it is proven, it is scientific, it is proven that people who set goals have more success. And that's because of the fact that they're more focused. Am I delaying at all with you guys? Because I feel like when I'm looking at myself, I can see my mouth delaying. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Fine.
I have you
Okay,
in real
perfect.
time.
Okay, great. So those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Michelle Kavanaugh, and I was actually managing the CPO certification program for years at formerly NSPF, National Swimming Pool Foundation. That's how I met Rudy. That's how I met Rob. I helped to recruit instructors to teach that course and kind of ran that program for years. Gosh, 12 years or something. And then I moved on to becoming executive director of the California Pool and Spa Association for a couple of years, and then just launched that on my own. So I am also a business owner myself. So I completely understand all the trials and tribulations with being a business owner and trying to, survive and grow and thrive and all of those things. I also really focus my business. I'm a consulting firm, but I really consider myself an agency. I am more about tools, marketing and sales tools and efficiency tools that I can help you implement to be more productive and efficient within your business. I also can do some consulting based on whatever it is you've got going on that may be an issue. But really, for me, I consider myself more of an agency. So I'm focusing my energies on sales, marketing, and efficiency for people. And that's something that I specialize in. I'm, definitely. Did you say something? Oh. So that's really who I am. And that's why, why should you even listen to me? I have been working with within the pool industry for 20 years, and I've worked with a lot of pool service, whether commercial or residential, as well as builders and renovators. So I call it my people, because this is the group that I identify with. And for those of you on a personal note, when I started in this industry, I was a single mom who was struggling with a kid who had a learning disability, and this industry surrounded me with love and support. And because of that, I want to give back, and that's what I do. So you'll notice a lot of times I probably should be charging for advice, but I still give it anyway, because I just want you guys to be successful and happy, and your businesses to thrive. That's just who I am as a person. So let's talk about the importance of goal setting. Does anybody have any questions or anything before I get started? Like I said, I'm not going to spend hours on theory. I want to actually get into setting goals and giving examples. So that's what I'm just going to talk a little bit about goal setting prior to that. But if you have any questions, just raise your hand. The reason why people are more successful when they set goals is because it allows you to have a focus, and it provides direction for your business. Those of us who are just out here, well, I guess I'll try to make some money this year. Yes, that's a goal, and it's a valid goal. But if you actually have a very specific goal associated with it, I want to make one of my goals, just to have full disclosure, is I want to bring in $200,000 in sales this year. So my revenue goal is $200,000. That's one goal out of, many goals. It doesn't have to be revenue. It could be customer satisfaction. It could be anything like that. And we'll talk about that. But it provides direction for you. And when you have direction, not only do your team members, if you communicate effectively, they feel more involved in the business and understand what the purpose is. And when you have team members and yourself very focused and have purpose around that, then it makes it easier to get the job done. And it also allows you to be more successful because everybody's on the same page. There is science behind the fact, or data behind the fact, I should say, that there are higher revenue generating businesses that are setting goals, and that's important because again, they have a focus. They know what they understand what the goals are and what the priorities are, and that's what they're having their whole team focus on, which is important. And then it actually gives you a report card, not just you, but even anybody on your team has a report card when you set goals. And it really just reaffirms, like I said, the purpose and the commitment around what those goals are. And then it helps prioritize the tasks, and your resource allocation is important. And you'll see one of the examples I have is about, what happens when you lose somebody. You have a specific goal and then you lose the pool service pro, and then all of a sudden you have to pivot and reassess. That's a resource allocation. I have to say this too, because this is important when setting goals. What I find a lot of times with businesses like us, small businesses that have, like, I'm just by myself, I don't have anybody else, it's just me. A lot of small pool service companies, it's just themselves and their wife, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Yeah. When you have a business like that, you spend a lot of your time focusing in the business instead of on the business. I'm sure you guys have heard that before, but I want to reiterate the fact that as a leader of your business, as an owner or a leader of your business, it's really important to focus on the business as well, on the strategic focus, on planning strategically what you're trying to accomplish, and really the legacy you want to leave behind. Being efficient with your systems and your processes, focusing on team development. Financial management is important. I know a lot of service companies and even small builders that I work for that don't even know how to read their own balance sheet or income statement. And that's not a cut on them. It's just a matter of they have not had somebody sit down with them or take the time to learn that. And you need to know kind of what your balance sheet says about your business and what your income statement says about your business. It's important to do that financial management. And then, of course, the growth of your business is really kind of up to you as well. So I just wanted to say that caveat, because in goal setting, it's about working on the business, not in the business. And a lot of people don't do this. And I think it's because they're so caught up in the day-to-day operations that they're not focusing their energies on planning strategically for the business. So I just wanted to say that that's really important for long-term success and to grow. And when you focus on the business, you realize there are some things you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, because all of us need to delegate. If we don't have somebody to delegate it to, I would highly recommend maybe even starting with a virtual assistant or someone virtually that can help you, that you don't have to pay, taxes on and so forth like that. But this is an example of what you can do in regards to delegation. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. I'm sure many of you probably already know what it is, but it's really about listing all your tasks and responsibilities working in the business and then categorizing them into 4 different categories. Your urgent category is, let's just get it done. Do it, get it done. You can do it and you should do it first. If it's important but not urgent, you schedule the time. You schedule it in your daily activities or for next week or whenever. If it's urgent but not really that important, then you should delegate that task. An urgent thing could be a customer called about something and one of your people cannot handle that. It's urgent, but it doesn't have to be something you do. So you delegate those tasks out. And if it's not urgent, not important, then just exit. That's the Family Feud Xing thing. I love that. Simple. So you want to eliminate it, just get it out of there. You don't have to do it. A lot of times we are yes people and we say yes to everything when we shouldn't be. I can say that. I do that sometimes myself. And so we should be focusing on getting rid of things that are not our priorities. So I just wanted to bring that up as well. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, let's talk about SMART goals. So the SMART goals are the types of goals you should be setting. And again, because it's very focused and it's driven on, the more specific, the better. Just like if you're putting a prompt into an AI tool these days, the more specific, the better off you are. So you want it to be very specific. It has to be measurable, because if you can't determine the success of your goal by measuring it, then how are you going to know if you're doing things right or wrong or need to pivot? It has to be measurable. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It has to be achievable. So, like I decided, I'm going to go from, $100,000 a year company, and this year I'm going to make $10 million. Now, is it achievable if you kick things into high gear? Maybe, but let's make it achievable and not like way out there. I have a lot of mixed feedback from anybody that talks about mindset that you should up your goals. You know, if your goal is this 25% increase, you should up it to 50 or 75. And I understand the whole mindset principle behind why you're doing that, but is that achievable? And if you fail every time at your goals, then are you actually inhibiting your mindset to be able to feel good about things? If you feel like if you're afraid that you're not going to meet your goals and that's why you don't set them, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do that anyway. So I'm just going to hope things work out. That is a mistake because you shouldn't see it as a failure. You should see it as a learning opportunity. You know, I tried this. This didn't work the way I thought it was going to do. So now I'm going to pivot and I'm going to revise it. I'm going to do this. So don't let fear keep you from setting goals, because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know what to set. I'm not going to meet it anyway. So I'm just going to not do anything. That's not what you want to do. You want to start. You can start small. You can start with, you know, a quarterly goal or whatever you have to do to get started on it is important. And of course, it has to be time bound. There must be a time factor involved in your goal. And relevant, of course, makes sense. You don't want to set a goal that is not relevant to your business. So this is an example of how I want to start on an actual worksheet here. I do, by the way, have these worksheets in a PDF document. So after after this, Rudy, I could even send it to you if you want, or whoever. You can contact me, and I can send you the document if you want to see these actually in a PDF format or a Word format, so you can modify them.
Absolutely.
So we have short-term goals, medium-term goals, what I call, and then long-term. I really think it's important to have at least one in each of these categories. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that it gets you in the habit of reviewing and measuring your goals more often. If you set a short-term goal of, you know, in the next 2 months, then it gets you in the habit of analyzing that goal and pivoting if necessary, and then setting your next 2-month goal. So I really recommend doing one, and you can do just one to start. If you've not done goals before, just do one. Just do 1 3-month goal, one, you know, yearly goal, and one, where do you want to see your business in 5 years kind of goal. Obviously, the 5-year goals can have a much higher achievable rate. So if you want to do $5 million or $10 million in 5 years, that makes more sense than trying to do it in 6 months. So you can adjust what you're trying to accomplish based on the time. And I think it's important to have that. So this is an example of the types of goals you want to be setting. And they don't have to be revenue generated. They can be, like I said, customer satisfaction or anything like that. And we're going to go over 4 different examples. And I have a fifth one that's really about social media that I want to share, because a lot of people are struggling with social media.
I know you just want to eat my headphones.
Oh. So does anybody have any questions before I get started on the examples? Are we good with kind of where we are and starting to understand how we use these goals? Anybody have any? If you raise your hand if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to dive right into the goals. So here's an example of a goal. Increase my customer base. So I'm setting a goal that I want to gain 20 new residential pool service clients. It's measurable because I can track how many clients I have. If you had any kind of database, wherever you house your clients, whether it's in an Excel spreadsheet or a CRM system or QuickBooks, you can measure how many clients you have per month. It's achievable. 20 doesn't seem like an unreasonable number. That seems like it's a very achievable thing. And I'm gonna do it by implementing a referral program and giving my existing customers some rewards for referring their friends in the area. It's relevant, obviously, because it relates to pool service, and it's going to increase my revenue and potentially grow my business. That's very relevant. And I want to achieve this within the next 6 months. Now you'll see with this one, I'm also going to show this one when we pivot, when we talk about reviewing and changing goals. This is the example I'm going to use to show you what happens when you lose a pool service pro, and then all of a sudden you don't have the ability to serve the number of clients that you did before. So we'll talk about that when we get to that stage. But this is an example of SMART goal. It's very specific, it's measurable, achievable, relevant, and it's time bound. That's a good example. Here's another example. Enhance service efficiency. Now keep in mind, I understand that reducing the average time may mean that you're reducing quality. So I just mean more from the perspective of productivity, meaning if you have a service pro who's taking a long time to get get the number of whatever you're trying to accomplish in that day. It could be that. It doesn't have to be. It could be reducing the service route in general by putting, things closer together so it doesn't take him as long to get from him or her to get from one place to the next. However you want to put that in words, that's completely fine. What I don't want you to do is say, I have to, I'm going to reduce quality by making sure we spend less time with the customer. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish here. But, reduce the average time spent on each pool visit by 15%. That's very measurable because you can, if you have any kind of system that tracks your pool service pros, or kind of check in and check out at the end of each job, you kind of know how long it's taking, how many they're getting done per day. So it's measurable. It's definitely achievable because you have tools out there that allow you, like I said, to figure out how long it's taking particular people to do the jobs. It's relevant because it's going to improve efficiency. It'll allow more clients and increase productivity. And then we're trying to do that in the next 3 months. It could be 6 months, 5 months, whatever you choose. This is an example of kind of a service efficiency or productivity. Does anybody have any questions about that? Does that seem like it makes sense? Does that seem like something you could actually implement? Anybody? You could just put a high five or a thumbs up or something if you want to say anything. Does that make sense to you, Rudy?
Yeah, I think it's great. And to your point about reducing the time at a service visit by 15%, we could be talking about just putting a little bit of hustle into your routine, not necessarily cutting corners, but picking up the pace just a little bit. Because I know folks out there that, take their time and that's what they want to do. And I know folks out there that clean pools like it's CrossFit. So in either case, as long as you get it all done, you can definitely pick up the pace and move along. So I think that's fantastic. And I like that as a goal a lot. And it is measurable, which I do also appreciate. So.
Yes. David Haas, nice to see your face.
Michelle, how are you? Nice to see you as well. Hey, I just wanted to mention, since we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pools, it doesn't take a whole lot in this particular space that you're talking about. But one thing a lot of guys miss, and it sort of is working on as well as in your business, is making sure that all the equipment is running efficiently. Make sure that they have cleaners if they have them, and if they do, make sure they're running the way they're supposed to. And sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the service personnel. It has to do with making sure that all the equipment is there. And if maybe somebody needs to be introduced to cleaners, or the robotic cleaners or whatever, it's a good opportunity not only to increase your income, profitability, but also at the same time be providing for those the specific idea of reducing the amount of time that your guy might have to spend there. So sometimes we overlook that in a way to sort of plan, when in reality, I know in my particular area, that we'll take on a pool and we just shake our head and wonder why the guy hasn't talked to them about maybe a filter upgrade or a cleaner upgrade. And so, that's kind of a working on as well as in your business, because it benefits you both ways there. So just want to throw that out there.
Makes complete sense. Yeah. I think that may be even the next goal. So that's the fourth one. Mm-hmm. So obviously increasing customer satisfaction is something that I think a lot of people should be focusing on, no matter what business you're in. And you could do that via surveying or any way that you can collect information from your customers. Achieving 90% customer satisfaction rate in post-service surveys. That's very measurable. You can get you can send surveys out via email. You can collect the data. You can analyze the data. Very measurable and very achievable. And by increasing the customer satisfaction rate, of course, you increase your likelihood of getting referrals. You can retain those customers for longer periods of time because they're very happy with you. Always good things. That's why it's relevant to your business. And then, of course, as a 6-month time frame that I put on that. The data points in regards to this one, if you don't know what it was before, you're basing the data off of collecting, if you've never done surveys to your customers before, don't really know what their level of service is. And I highly recommend, I've had some people maybe anybody who's done a survey can comment on this. I really am a big believer in doing anonymous surveys up front. Some people do not like those, but I think people are going to be more honest. If you've never done a survey before, I really think it's important to do an anonymous survey. Just send out, using your email system, send out to all of your customers and just get honest feedback. People that have complaints generally don't voice those complaints. And especially if you know who they are, they're probably not going to voice them because the people don't like conflict. So they're going to just keep it to themselves and say, oh, yeah, everything's great. And you really aren't going to get honest feedback. Highly recommend anonymous. You can always do individual surveys to people and talk to them separately, but I think an anonymous survey is the way to go the first time. Any questions or comments in regards to this? And then this is really something that Dave touched on, which I think is important here, kind of increasing.
Damn it, come on.
I call it an upsell. Now, whatever you guys want to call it, you can call it, whatever you decide, but maybe it's an increase in your upsell services, whether it be equipment, whether it be a different package that you have that they're not taking advantage of, anything that could be a way to increase an upsell, that would be something you could track. It's something that's obviously measurable because you can see the data on the things that have been sold since you implemented this particular goal. You can train your service team you can make it achievable by training your team, making sure it's very clear what you want them to do, giving them examples of what they can do, or if they happen to see the customer, that sometimes they don't see the customer at all, and you can do it yourself via email or other ways to contact the customer. But that's very achievable. And then obviously it's relevant to the business, and then you can put a time limit on it, say in the next 6 months or 5 months or whatever it may be. That's a way to definitely increase your revenue without having to get new customers. You don't have to send them to a different house. They can actually just upsell something in the to the existing customer base. It's always easier to sell to your existing customers than to get new customers too. So those of you who have great customers and they're satisfied with you, selling to them is easier than trying to get a new person or a new customer, a new client. So you don't want to sell them stuff they don't need, obviously, but things that they do need, it's important to bring that up. The other thing, I didn't put this one in here, but I think what I've been noticing from people is that their social media is really lacking. A lot of us were kind of hesitant to use social media because we just didn't think that was the way to go. And I completely get that philosophy. But now that we're kind of moving digital, I think it's really important that you have an online presence. So having a SMART goal associated with, increasing number of followers, getting more engagement, all those are analytics and tools that you can see on the back end of Facebook or the back end of Instagram. They have analytical tools that you can see. So if that's something that you haven't done or you're not focusing on, I would highly recommend that moving up. You don't have to be on every social media platform. You don't have to be on, 10 different things and trying to manage all of that. I do not recommend that, but I do recommend being on a couple. And it really is where your customers are. If you're on the high end side of things, I tend to recommend LinkedIn because that's where kind of those high end business folks are who would potentially be getting, like for pool builders, a very kind of luxury style pool. They're probably on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. So depending on what you're trying to do there, I do think having a goal and relates to, social media and your engagement and followers there is important. It's not about number of followers. It's about engaged followers who will potentially be your customers. A lot of mistake we've made as well in regards to that is by just focusing on talking to our peers.
No. Could I get a large number 1, please, with a Dr. Pepper?
Oh, who's getting a number 1?
One double.
Gregory, mute yourself.
Nope, that'll be all.
Go ahead and move forward.
Are you going to supersize that, Gregory?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had my mic on. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all good, Greg. Don't worry about it. You got to eat. We understand.
You should have ordered enough for everybody.
I know. I was just going to say that. Absolutely. But
hold on. Give me a second here.
That's something that I forgot my train of thought there on that point, but I'll move on. So before I move into kind of how you take those particular goals, review them, and then make pivots or adjustments to those based on things that are happening in your business when you start reviewing, I just want to talk about strategic planning just for a second. Because really the only thing, strategic planning are kind of big words, I think, that a lot of people are afraid of sometimes. I think, I don't need to do that. But I think it's important to understand that all you're really doing with strategic planning is just aligning your goals with kind of the purpose of why you're in business, or your purpose. That's all you're really doing here. That's strategic planning. Is, why are you, am I freezing up, Mike, Rudy, or am I good? Okay. It's important to understand why you're in business. If you say, I've asked this question of many people and they go, I'm in business to make money. I understand you're in business to make money. None of us are in business to lose money or to not be sustainable. But what is your real purpose? What is your real reason? Because that should be used to modify your goals or to create your goals. If your goal is to make money, I get it, then have strategic goals around making money. Have goals that are okay. I'm in 6 months, this is my revenue goal. In a year, this is my revenue goal. 5 years from now, this is my revenue goal. No problem with that at all. If that's what your business is, then do it. If your business is to kind of make a difference, and maybe customer satisfaction is more along the lines of your strategic purpose. I tend to be someone who just really wants to give back and help people. So a lot of my goals are associated with how I can assist others to meet their objectives. And so you have goals around that. And then really assessing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I don't mean weaknesses as a bad thing. I just mean weaknesses as, where are the areas in your business that you're struggling and you could change things a little bit to either help with those weaknesses or minimize their impact. So really, the strengths are what your business does well, what you do well, what your team members do well. And the weaknesses are just really areas of improvement. They're not negative things. Every one of our businesses has weaknesses because we have areas that can be improved upon, and we need a strategy around that. So that's really what it is. And then assessing kind of what your opportunities and threats are. You can say this is a SWOT analysis, but not really. I think that's kind of too forward thinking for what we need right in this particular session. But understanding what your opportunities are, whether it be upsells, whether it be partnering with, pool builders, whether it be all of your competition in your area that are threats and they're kicking your tail in, you got to figure out how to compete with them. Anything like that, it's important to know that. I think a lot of you probably already know who your competitors are in your area, and maybe you're not not 100% clear on all your opportunities though, because there could be opportunities that you're not taking advantage of. As an example, I'm just going to throw an aside at this. I have a business partner of mine who he's a Christmas light business. So he installs Christmas lights and, starting in October through the end of the year, and then takes them down. He's in the Dallas area. He's got a recurring customer base that he has every year, and then he adds new people on. He makes a crap ton of money in like 3 months at the end of the year doing this Christmas light business. He has a whole online course that teaches you how to do it. That's a potential opportunity for a pool service guy if that's something they want to do kind of in the off season. There's turf opportunities potentially for landscapers. And if you're working with landscapers, I know a lot of turf guys that are kind of connecting with pool service and builders. So there's opportunities out there of things you could do that you may not be aware of. So just always kind of learning and growing and talking to people and figuring out ways that you could, increase revenue. Is that clear with everybody? Anybody have any questions or comments on that? No? So this is what I wanted to do. I want to go back to that first example that I had, and I want to talk about how we can review this and adjust it. So we'll talk about measuring tools in a minute. But when you look at your goals, so now we're 6 months in the year. If you've already set a goal for this year, and I would highly recommend that you review those goals right now, and you figure out how you're doing, what's working, what's not working. Are you going to meet your goal? What challenges have you faced so far? And what progress have you made? And kind of assess what's happened. If you feel like, this isn't going to work for me, that, I'm not going to meet the goal that I thought I was going to meet. Is it because you set too high of a goal, or is it just because there's factors in your business like losing a service pro or something else that may be the cause of that? So be really clear on what's happening and assessing what's happening in your business, that you can make the proper adjustments. So when you do all of that, if we go back to our example that we had before, which is the increased customer base, you want to gain 20 new residential pool service clients in the next 6 months, I think it was, 6 months. And I have all the smart items there for you. You reviewed your progress and you've acquired 8 new clients in the first 3 months, which is great. You've had a positive response to your referral program. For your current customer base, you've had a positive response about that. People have commented how they've been providing referrals. They've commented how much they like it, that kind of thing. But now you have challenges because you lost a key pool service pro. And I can't see the bottom of this because I'm sharing, because it cut off the bottom of my screen there. But your challenge is you lost somebody. So at that point, how are you going to be able to keep up with not only your current customer base, but now you've got these new and you're trying to get another 12 people in the next, 3 months. Are you going to be able to do that? Now, this is an example of a pivot that needs to happen, not because you did anything wrong necessarily, but somebody left and moved on. So now you have to figure out how to pivot. This is an example of that. And I think at the bottom, challenges faced is, you want to make sure your response times, your quality and response times are still there. So that's a challenge now that you have to worry about giving those particular pools to somebody else. So that's a challenge. And if you look at that, this is the adjustment that could be made. This is just an example. You're just going to revise the goal to gain 10 new instead of 20. You've already got 8. You just need another 2. And this would really is based off of how many people you have on your team, obviously. If you're already struggling with the 8 new ones plus your existing, then, modify it how you need to modify it. But I modified my goal to 10 instead of 20. I'm gathering feedback from the current team on the workload and the service quality, and I'm going to gather that information from my customer base as well. I'm putting a temporary pause on the referral program to prevent overloading the team. I'm focusing on existing clients by improving their quality of service and making sure, and, communicating with them effectively so that we don't lose people there. And then I'm going to adjust my marketing efforts to target fewer clients, but maybe more high dollar or high value clients that could be upsells or other things that could be potentially, add-ons or added services, anything like that, so that I can, maybe gain some revenue there versus the other 10 potential customers that I was going to have as part of my goal. This is an example of reviewing your goal, then pivoting. If it's a revenue goal and you're at 6 months, you're like, I was going to make $2 million this year, and I'm at 6 months in, and I've only made 800,000. Am I going to be able to meet the rest of that in the next 6 months? And if you feel like you think you can, then you have to adjust everything to meet those goals. If you think about it, breaking it down into terms of, monthly, if you divide it by 6 and you're like, I need to bring in at least this amount every month to be able to hit it, or if it, compounds on each other, what do you have to meet every month to be able to do that? And what do you have to do to get that revenue number for the next month or the next 2 months, the next 3 months? What are the action items that have to take place? That's how you kind of reassess it. And if you don't know exactly what action items to take or how to move forward for some of these goals, that's when you probably should get a professional involved and maybe just throw some ideas out or get some feedback from somebody. David Hawes is a great example of somebody who really knows his stuff and can easily provide some, information if he does that on the side. I can help out too if need be, but if you feel like you're kind of stuck, that's when you probably need to get a professional involved. Are there any questions in regards to this? Now, and then I put this action plan together. So if you see now, this was based on getting 20 more clients. So now, because I have to pivot, I have a whole action plan now. My short-term plan is I'm going to pause the referral program. I'm going to improve my service quality. I'm going to adjust my marketing strategy. I'm going to focus on higher value clients that have upgrades or upsells. My midterm goals, like say in the next 6 months, I'm going to hire a part-time pro. Now you could move that to short-term if you need to, but hire a part-time pro, focus on route optimization, monitor my team productivity, provide additional training as needed. If there's some people that are kind of newer and need to get trained up a little bit more to take over some of your other clients, you need to train them up. And that's part of your responsibility as a strategic business owner, is to figure out how you're going to manage that team and train them appropriately. And then maybe a long-term goal is you hire a full-term pro. and get them back on, the payroll and train them up and all of that. Revise your onboard training program, revise and refine your referral program and kind of kick it up again in a year, or hire an outside expert to rewrite my marketing plan or my business strategy or my business plan or whatever it may be. That's an idea of that one goal that you can create an action plan for. You can do as many as you want here. You could do one, you could do two, I did 4 per category. You could do as many as you want. That's an idea of how you use that. And up front, it takes a little bit of time, but once you kind of get the first goal set, then the amount of time spent on kind of analyzing and monitoring all of this is less, unless you have a huge, something big that happens in your business that requires a lot of reassessing. But it takes less time to do that. Does anybody have any questions about that? I want to talk about measuring goals in a second. Any questions, Rudy?
Michelle, we do have a question from the chat from Sunny, and I think it jumps back just a little bit.
Sure, no problem.
Sorry, I missed the moment to ask questions straight after the previous slides. Do we need to start from long-term goals and break down to short-term? How often do we need to do customer surveys? So it's a 2-part question. Do we need to start with long-term goals and break them down? And then how often do you do the surveys?
I think it's a great question. I always think bigger first. So first of all, figuring out what your purpose is in your business and setting goals appropriate with that purpose. So I do believe in setting the longer term goals first and then breaking it down into shorter term goals that help you with your action plan. So I think it's important to start with, in 3 years, I want to be a $5 million company or a $2 million company or $1 million company, whatever it may be. That way you can assess kind of moving, going down from there. How are you going to look at this, the next 6 months, the next year, the next year and a half? It allows you to set objectives and an action plan that will help you meet that long-term goal. So yes, I would definitely start big and go smaller. And as far as customer surveys, I would do them twice a year. Maybe David has some additional comments on that, but I would do them kind of at mid-year and at the end of the year. Now, people tend to be in a much better mood around Christmas time, so do it around Christmas when they're really happy. And then they'll give you a great customer review. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. Nobody laughed, though. Wow, tough room. Tough Rob. Look at Rob's face. He's like, I'm not going to crack a smile no matter what I do. But so anyway, so yes, start big. And then I say twice a year and you can even do it once a year if you think, but things change. And if especially you see people are leaving or, if something's going on in your business where you're getting a bunch of new referrals from existing customers or people are leaving, that tells you either something really good is happening or something not so great is happening. So that is a tool there that you need to move on as far as getting kind of assessing what's happening. And that's where you would do an anonymous survey because you want to get honest feedback, and they're not going to do that if they have their name out there. I really am a believer in that. People will be more honest if it's anonymous.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for answering for my questions.
Yes.
Just another question about anonymous surveys. So basically, we were planning to do surveys and give them a voucher. So that would be incentive. How would that work when it's anonymous? How would we give them any kind of
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not an easy thing to do. I had this come up with another client of mine where we did an anonymous survey and somebody complained in the survey and said, that like something as an example, they said, well, you need to provide these kinds of services. And the guy does provide those kinds of services, but he hasn't effectively communicated that. So now he wanted to know who that person was so we could go to him and say, I do provide this service, but he doesn't know the person's name. So he was upset about that too. But keep in mind, the voucher is a hard thing to do. I would put that more in the referral program. Do a survey to create a referral program or a customer loyalty program. And the voucher should be in that program, not in filling out the survey. If you can get, a small sampling, I don't know how many clients you have, but even if you got 30 of them to fill out, if you have 200 30. Clients, you got 30. It's a nice sampling that you could extrapolate into the bigger picture. But I'm a believer in doing anonymous, and maybe somebody else has another thought on that, and then create a referral program and give them the voucher or the rewards for the referring or the giving you reviews instead of filling out the survey.
Okay, we just was Michelle, worried that people don't like doing questionnaires.
If you got to make it short and sweet. Don't try to do, 2 pages of questions. You don't want to do that. You want to make it short. You want to make it easy for them to answer, drop down box or, things they can easily tick. You want to make it, give them a minute or two is all they should spend on the survey. And then just explain that to them. You're really going to help us provide additional services and, just give them tell them why and how it can benefit them if they fill it out. But don't give them a voucher necessarily.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate your advice.
Did somebody else have a question?
I didn't have a question. I was just going to respond when you were asking about anything else. If you really feel strongly that you want to give, a $5 cup of coffee or something like that, you can just give people an option at the end of your survey. Thank you very much for filling this out. We'd like to send you a thank you gift. Please leave your email or whatever if you'd like to receive one. Then people have the option to do it either way.
That's a great idea. Didn't even think about that. Great idea.
I'd like to piggyback on David's comments from earlier in using these anonymous surveys to just track what we're doing out in the field. Kind of ask a question like, hey, did you know we sold such and such? Just to get the response to see how good of a job our techs are doing out there. Because again, you focused already on greater product inclusion, but also similar but a different lines are lost sales, perhaps, because I know a lot of the other folks in this. I know a lot of the folks that are here today, and I know a lot of the folks have seen folks say things along the lines of, "Oh yeah, I showed up at my customer's house and there was a brand new pump installed. I don't know why they didn't come to me." Well, I do, because they probably didn't know that you did that. Yeah. So lost sales along those lines, even down to pressure gauge, broken basket, things that your techs might be overlooking as well. Maybe obviously not all in the same survey, but a little bit of each in there just to track how our team is doing in the field would be a great idea, I think, as well.
When I did a survey recently for a client, I asked them about ozone systems because they're selling, they're big on selling the kind of ozone systems in the backyard and doing kind of more of a natural pool versus the chemicals. And so that was a question. Are you interested in learning more about natural pools or, chemical, low chemical or chlorine free? I don't want to say chlorine free, but low chemical options for your pool. That's just a question. So if the ones that, again, that was an anonymous thing. So we didn't even know who said yes to that question. But because 10% or 15% of the people said yes to that question, we just let everybody know. Hey, thank you for filling out the survey. We sent the whole customer base a follow-up email. Thank you very much for filling out the survey. We noticed that a few of you mentioned an interest in this. Here's a link if you want to learn more information. But then the people that didn't say yes, who didn't know, they still get access to the link. And if they want to go research it, they can. So it's like any complaints or positive things that come out of your survey, you send a follow-up email after the survey and you respond to all of those things. Thank you so much. We had great feedback about this, this, and this. And if there's anything negative in there, address it in the email to everyone. Because
so
that's
it's kind of, so you can include a keeping up with the Joneses type of a thing in there and stating that a lot of you were interested in this, 15%, then hoping the others are like, well, why are they interested? I should look at that type of thing. Exactly. Is fantastic. I love it.
Yep. And then I just we don't have to go through a lot of time on data analysis, but I just wanted to show that if you don't know how to measure your goals, you can, if you're still using Google Sheets or Excel, I'm not going to judge you. There's nothing wrong with that. The key is to be able to, do the data, look at the data and analyze the data. Obviously, CRM software, customer relationship management, there's a ton of stuff out there, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper, guys, because it's now kind of a thing that happens. Like Go High Level is what I use. It's way more than just a CRM system. It has marketing tools and all these things. And it's $97 a month, but it has all of these things with it. So that's an example. You could even probably do one for $50 a month. Project management tools. Here's another way to be clear with your team. If you set the goals and have clear expectations and clear priorities and clear objectives and goals in your project management tool, as an example, I use Morning Mate, which is phenomenal. If anybody wants it, you can email me after and I'll send you a link to it. It looks kind of like your Facebook feed, but you can even pin things to the top. And this is our objectives for the week. This is our objectives for the month. This is our objectives for the next 6 months. This is what we're focusing on. You invite all your team members to it. Everybody's clear. They can have it on their phone, on an app. They can look at it on their computer, whatever works. Survey tools, obviously, a lot of you have already used those. There's a million survey tools out there that you can use, depending on a lot of the CRM software and other things like that have survey tools or some sort of integration that you can put on that. And then any other analytical tools, obviously I talked about social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of those have analytics that you can review. Google, if you're trying to assess your website. SEO is really hard to assess these days because of all the changes that happen. So it's harder to do that, but that's out there for you as well. And then I just want to summarize kind of what the key takeaways, effective goal setting. And I said this before, this is not to judge anybody or say you're less than because you're not setting goals. It's a proven that business owners who set goals for their business are more likely to succeed or meet those goals than people who don't. You're saying, well, if I don't set a goal, yes, I'm not going to meet it because I never set it. What it means is you still have a goal of making money. You still have a goal of providing good service. Those are still goals. They're just not specific and written and you're not measuring them, but they're still goals. So you have goals, but you're more likely to succeed in reaching all of those goals and reaching the level that you want to reach if you take the time to set the goals and make sure and measure them and reassess them and pivot if you need to. You're more likely to meet the goals if they're SMART goals. And then, of course, if you review goals frequently and you're kind of looking at and assessing that, it just reaffirms your commitment. It reaffirms your purpose behind it. And that allows you to take more action, which allows you to be more effective at meeting those goals. And that's why if you review them frequently, people that do that are more successful at meeting goals than if you don't review them. And then we'll talk about questions. Anything else you want to talk about? I have a PDF document that I can send to you guys if you just email me. You can also schedule time with me at either toolsforthetrades.com or my digital business card is mkbizcard.net, or there's my email address. If you want that, just send me an email. I'm happy to provide those to you. If you ever want to have a call with me, I provide a free consultation within reason. I mean, I'm not going to do a 2-hour consultation, but I'd be happy to give you direction at no charge for the first one. So anything there? Any other questions or anything that you'd like to comment on? Or I know it's hard to do a lot of strategy in an hour, but this is kind of an intro. Rob, Joy, nobody? Okay.
I got nothing.
I hear you. I get it. I'm really hoping that you guys learn something from this and will take some of it and implement it into your business. I do it myself, so I'm not just saying you do it or I'm not going to do it. I also do it. So it's something that we all should be doing if we own a business or a leader in a business. So I hope that you found some benefit from this and that I would love to hear your feedback. If you are setting goals and it works for you or you have a question, let me know.
Everybody, if you can, take a picture of the screen with the contact info. You may think of something tomorrow or the next day that you can hit Michelle up with. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Those of you that are on listening with us, do remember we do have that deal for the first 20 new members to this IPSA virtual chapter to get the free buffer zone software. That's pool service software to operate your business. And then in order to become a member of IPSA, go to ipsa.com. That's IPSSA.com. And if you're in the area, Florida virtual area, that will hook you up with this group. If you're in some other area, feel free to join as well. You can still continue to come here and see me as well as attend your local meetings as well. It's a lot of fun. So Michelle, again, thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. Everybody, I've known Michelle for a really long time, and I can't say enough nice things about her. She really does thoroughly enjoy helping people, and you really do get a sense of that when you work with her on any projects. And anybody else who's here who's worked with Michelle in the past, Rob, would nod their head and agree with me, I'm sure. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Any final questions for Michelle before we go?
There's nothing in the chat, right, that I missed? I don't think so, but no.
No, Sunny said thank you a few times. A couple of good ideas. Everybody is basically accolades but no questions at this point in time that I can see. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining with us. Again, third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. We're going to have always focus on speakers that will help to improve business acumen. That's the goal. Elevate, educate, and elevate. That's what we're shooting for. And Michelle, you're such a key part of this. You have no idea. Thank you. All right, everybody.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Have a great night. Keep crushing it out in the field. I know you guys are super busy, and I definitely I'm in awe of all of you. Thank you.
I hope to see you guys in Dallas in November if you come.
There you go. Cool. All right.